Welcome to Digital Nation, your weekly showcase of the best of local TV. Whether it's heartwarming or heartbreaking, we bring you the stories you just don't see anywhere else. From the Piano Man in Edinburgh to the Iron Men of Liverpool, we discover the plight of dairy farmers in Lancashire and check out why dog walkers in Leeds are taking to the skies. Loving local? Then let us know what you think by using the hashtag Digital Nation. First, we visit Northern Ireland to uncover a statue commemorating one of Belfast's boxing heroes, John Rinty Monaghan. Characterful local lad Rinty was a world champion with the perfect mix of strength and technique. No one stood a chance.
It's great to see kind of one of Belfast heroes finally being recognised. Rinty was a great fighter. I've often went back and watched some of his footage on YouTube, and it was a different story. And he was a world champion when there only was one world champion. And boxing's full of alphabet titles these days. Sometimes you get confused with who actually is a world champion, but in Rinty's day, you knew who it was, and he was a great fighter. And it was a brutal sport then. It was tough. Things were a lot different, but it's great to see this, and a good turnout for him as well. He was aggressive. He was small. Obviously, he was only a flyweight, but he was very small. I think he made the weight pretty easy. And he had a massive back and big arms. Very, very strong. And you talk to the old timers, and they tell you stories about him. I think he was aggressive, and he could definitely punch as well for one of the later guys. But always in exciting fights, and the people loved him just because of how he fought and his character, and he used to sing after his wins and stuff. And boxing doesn't have a lot of characters anymore, and Rinty was definitely one of them.
Over now to Lincolnshire, where we return to Grimsby to catch up with old friends. Dave, Rick and Tony at the Freeman Street Market.
As day breaks on Freeman Street, the market comes to life. But for Dave, when things are a little quiet, he's got his friend Greg.
I go see Greg in there sometimes when I get a bit fed up. He's always good for a chat. All right, Greg. He doesn't say like, see, a bit camera shy, Greggy boy.
What's the key to selling good fish?
You have to have a keen eye, and you have to get yourself in the mix on an auction to try and get the best. There's a lot of people out there the same as me, always want the best. So sometimes it can be difficult. Then again, life's difficult, isn't it? So.
What's the most important aspect of a flower stall?
It's the buying side of it, you've got to get it right, because to be able to buy it right, to sell it right. Because at the end of the day, we're competing against the Ulsters, and they're our competitors now. Turn it up. Flash it. Have a good weekend, my mate. We've got some great customers, honestly. I love it, got some real nice diversity of customers. At the end of the day, you like to think you give them a good deal, they'll come back again, don't they? Do you know what I mean? That's what it's all about, isn't it, at the end of the day.
Next, we head over to Edinburgh to meet Ben the Portobello Piano Man, who, when down on his luck, sought to bring some musical magic to his local seaside.
Around December of 2013, there was a bit of marital strife, and I ended up moving out of the house. I had various attempts at finding a place, and then one day the idea hit me, well, there's the concept of public pianos, and you have 5 pianos. Why not move to Portobello Beach with your piano, and you can sleep behind it, and it'll be a public piano for anybody to use. I invested £500, one of my last £500, in the tent. I ended up staying on the beach for about 5 months. The locals came by and tried out the piano from time to time, and they almost universally loved it. We used to do public pianos in San Francisco 15 years ago with pianos left over from this project I have in Cuba. The movers call it Pianarchy. It was a project to make fun of the American policy and embargo by shipping pianos there in spite of the embargo. We somehow managed to ship 250 pianos. Eventually had to move from the beach. The council sent representatives over. You're not supposed to camp within 200 yards of a public road. I think Edinburgh is ready for a whole bunch of public pianos, but they just don't know it.
Milk pricing is causing debate amongst dairy farmers as supermarket prices are falling below the cost of production. Are fair price initiatives the answer? Here's That's Lancashire to tell us more.
In 2014, the dairy industry saw a loss of over 300 farmers, with hundreds more leaving since. The past 12 months alone has seen the price paid for a litre of milk fall from 32 pence to 24. Milk costs farmers between 30 and 32 pence to produce.
We're hearing some good news from supermarkets at the moment saying that they want to increase the price to the processor so that goes down to farm gate level. We need to see assurances that that actually does happen, and we need to see that money getting onto our farms now. And we need to see fairer contracts for our dairy farmers.
Price wars between big supermarkets have resulted in dramatic falls in the price of milk. However, with names such as Aldi and Morrison's launching new fairer milk schemes, it's Lancashire's independent retailer Booths where farmers are receiving the most support.
So we know dairy farmers are having a particularly tough time at the moment, and it feels great for Booths to be able to put something back into the community. So our scheme launched in May last year. We've promised to pay the highest farm gate price of any retailer, which currently in August now is 33 pence per litre. Crucially above that, we've made an ongoing commitment to say that we would always pay above the cost of production.
Richard Barber is a dairy farmer in Garstang, part of the Booths Fair Milk Group.
The postman just come and I was reading through the mail and it said my processor had just spent 16 million on a brand new processing plant, which I've got no problem with, making it more efficient, that's great. And then I looked out the window and the tanker just pulled up outside my dairy, brand new wagon, which is fine, equally is good. You know, I've got no problem with anybody else making money and that's good. And then I went to the bread bin to get me toast and there was 2 crusts of bread in that in there, and that's all there was. And we were up to our neck in, over our overdraft limit, and man, a bit of a credit card debt just on groceries, really, just to feed people. And I'm not a religious person, but I did look up and say, if I don't do anything now, so I handed me notice in the next day, and then that's when we started with Wiseman's, and the Booths story started just over a year ago. Before, we didn't really have a future, whereas now we do have. We can make long-term decisions on the farm, investing in the future, really, for my kids and, for our sustainability.
But not every farmer is facing the same luck. At the moment, farmers across Lancashire are producing milk below the cost of production, facing a loss of thousands every month.
There's no time scale. It's a constant talking to the supermarkets and retailers to make sure that we can get a better price to those farmers, and the NFU will fight for as long as it takes.
Put all your sharp objects away. This one's for professionals only, including a professional plastic surgeon. The Axe Throwing Championships took place in Nottingham recently, and presenter Ian Chambers paid him a visit to sharpen his skills.
Now, it's a sport that many of you might not be that familiar with, but those who are here today are extremely passionate about it. In fact, many of them have travelled thousands and thousands of miles to be here in Huthwaite today to show off their knife and axe throwing skills. Italy, France, Poland, Germany and the US are just a handful of countries represented here at Wood End Farm in Huthwaite. They're all here competing for trophies, medals and honour in the best way they know, throwing knives and axes at targets. Ted and Joyce Eisenberg have travelled all the way from Philadelphia.
To be in the home of Sherwood Forest and Robin Hood, that's always been an interest since I was a child, and thought that would be kind of interesting to be here as well.
And Ted doesn't just use knives for fun.
Right, I'm a plastic and reconstructive surgeon, and I focus mostly on cosmetic breast surgery.
And you're in the Guinness Book of World Records for?
I am the most breast augmentations done in the world. I'm over 6,000 now.
Wow. Well, those two aren't the only ones from the States. John from California says it's a great way of bringing people together.
What does it mean to be happy, right? You can buy stuff and get used to it, then you're not happy anymore, but it's the experiences you remember and keep forever. I'm going to go in one of the people's homes in Switzerland in a few months, so it's great to have local friends everywhere.
So I'm with Dan now. He's one of the men behind this massive event. Dan, years of blood, sweat and tears have gone into this from you. How does it feel to finally see it happening behind you right now?
Relief, absolute relief, pure excitement, and to get everybody here from around the world is just incredible. It's just fantastic. The world's best are here today.
The world's best. Obviously, it takes a lot of practice, years, I imagine, to get to that level. But would you be willing to coach me and let me have one throw?
I will certainly try my best, and we'll see what we can do, sir.
Dan, let's give it a go. Should we swap tools?
Certainly.
There you go, you can take the mic.
Thank you.
Swap positions.
Okay, so if you come onto the 3 metre line, we think you're going to be about there to start with. So you're going to wind up, focus on what you want to hit, release and bring your arm down slightly. Just enough power that you think it's comfortable. Fantastic. And again, bullseye this time, please. Oh, excellent.
Thank you.
That's it for part 1, but before we go, it's quiz time. Which UK city is unique for having white phone boxes? Is it A, Preston, B, Cardiff, or C, Hull? Join us after the break for the answer. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break we asked you, which UK city is unique for having white telephone boxes? And the answer is C, Hull. With a long history in telecommunications, the city is unique in having a council-owned telephone system since 1902. Norwich has a plan to build back its city walls to their former medieval glory. But this time, the focus is not keeping out the old enemies, but instead bringing in new tourists.
Once, Norwich's city walls represented a formidable barrier to our enemies. Our city might not be facing the same threats as it was hundreds of years ago, but a new project is aiming to return the walls to their former glory. The Norwich Society have spent the last 3 years mapping every inch of the structures and are calling on authorities to do more to celebrate and protect them.
The walls are very, very significant because they were built a very long time ago and they've lasted well into, well, they're fragments now, but they lasted intact up until the late 18th century. And they were used in all kinds of ways. The people lived above the gates. The gates were used for taxation. The gates were used to keep people out as well. They were fortifications, but they were also a method of taxing goods coming into the city.
The suggestions made by the Society include replacing the battlements on certain stretches of wall, such as the bottom of Grapes Hill, where some restoration already took place earlier this year, and completely rebuilding in parts where there's very little left of the old walls. The project would like to see the boom towers over the River Wensum rebuilt and would restore the other towers too, like the Black Tower here on Carrow Hill. Although it's in relatively good shape for its age, the project would like to see a new roof put on it and would replace the floors as well.
Well, I think it would make another tourist attraction, there's no doubt about that. And once again, you've got to pick your places because people have got to be able to get at the bits that you enhance, and they've got to be meaningful in terms of the history.
When building finished in the mid-14th century, Norwich's walls were the most formidable urban defences in Britain, even greater than London. Of course, those days are long gone, but if these ambitious ideas get the support they need, the fine city's ancient walls could stand a bit taller once more.
We head over to Tyne and Wear now to meet quizmasters Peter and Hazel. as they seek the answers to love's eternal questions. But in just 60 seconds, how many answers will they find?
So, are you ready for this?
I'm never ready for these, but okay.
Now, you won one. Mel came back last week and she lost again, so it's 8-1 to me.
Okay.
So you've got to do this. It's got a love theme. Yep. So can I have 60 love beats on the giant love heart of love? Right, are you ready?
No.
Here we go. And Hugh Grant and Emma Thompson starred in which romantic comedy?
Nanny McPhee.
No, Love Actually. What day is the most romantic in the calendar?
Valentine's Day.
It is
14th.
indeed. If you sent a love letter and wrote swark, what would that mean?
See it with a love and kiss.
Yay! Sticking with swark, what would Holland stand for?
Don't know.
Hope our love lasts and never dies. Which little cherub gets you in the love mood?
Cupid.
Yes. Which seafood is said to be an aphrodisiac?
Prawns.
Oysters. Wrong. Love Changes Everything is from which hit musical?
Love changes everything. I don't know.
Aspects of Love. Love Is All Around stayed at #1 for 15 weeks. Who sang it?
Does it happen if you sing? Because I don't know the answers.
Wet, wet, wet. Love on the Rocks was a hit song for who? Love on the Rocks.
I don't know. I just know it as a cocktail. I just know it as a cocktail.
It's Neil Diamond. And finally, my dear, the average adult heart beats how many times a minute? I give you thrice choices. 52, 72, or 100 times?
72.
72 times,
How many
yes.
did I get? How many did I get?
4. 4 right there.
Oh.
Has anybody put Sealed with a Loving Kiss on yours?
No. I just thought it was a noise that a seagull made. What? Squawk!
The annual Village Bake Off took place in Manchester's LGBT community recently and saw over 40 sweet and savoury entries into the culinary competition. Can't beat a bit of cake, can you?
I think generally for the LGBT community, we have an activity that you don't need to be particularly proficient at, like running or rugby. I think everyone can bake a cake. We just a sociable group that you just come together, bring your baking along, and they say we just get together, have a drink and a chat, and have an afternoon of socialising.
I came last year as a judge, actually. So they asked me last year, and then they worked their way through a list of alternative judges, and nobody else could make it, so they asked me back. It's quite technical. We're going to be looking at a number of things. We're going to be looking at the appearance of the bake, how creative it is, but at the end of the day, we're going to nosh some food as well. So we're going to be seeing how tasty it is, and that's a really important part of the judging today. I'm going to be constructive, but you do need to be careful because some people are bigger than I am, so obviously I don't want to be too critical.
Definitely this year I think it's been probably the best year we've had. We've got minion cake, we've got a ballerina, we've got cheesecakes, we've got savoury, we've got an average about 40 entrants this year, which is the most we've ever had. We've got about 70 people inside drinking, waiting to eat the cake. So this is definitely our biggest and best year.
More local history now in Creative Kingdom.
So, you thought that psychedelia came from San Francisco? Actually, it started in Dorset, and it's all down to Edward Craven Walker. Eddie loved getting really high as a pilot in World War II. But then he dropped out and became an accountant who made naturist films on the side. But one night he decided to take a trip to a pub in Poole. While he was at the bar, he got hip to a far-out egg timer that was made from a cocktail shaker. So he took a light bulb and an empty pop bottle, added a bit of water and waxiness, and invented the lava lamp. And everyone started freaking out, man. Eddie scored so much bread from it that he even started his own commune called the Bournemouth and District Naturist Centre. Proof once again that when it comes to creativity, innovation, and letting it all hang out, in Poole Cosmic.
The Iron Men of Crosby Beach have been standing tall for 10 years. And Anthony Gormley's sculptures are being celebrated in a local exhibition.
It's 10 years since Anthony Gormley, his Another Place was first installed on Crosby Beach, and we've seen the impact that that's had over the years. And we just wanted to celebrate their birthday and look back at how we came to do it, why we came to do it, the impact we think it's had on the place, and also make a point about how public art can benefit local people, both in making them feel good about their area, but also economically in bringing business into the area.
I've been photographing the Iron Men since they first arrived on the beach 10 years ago. And I always seem to find inspiration, particularly of an evening. The evening light seems to bring out the best, the sort of dark silhouettes against the skyline. You may think that sort of a cast iron object on the beach covered in rust might not be very picturesque, but in actual fact, the fact that there were so many of them scattered along the beach, it just seems to bring a slightly surreal feel to the beach at times.
It's not an easy thing to do, to install 100 Iron Men on a beach of, obviously of sand. It was quite an achievement in itself to actually get them installed, but well worth it in the end.
And finally, how do you take 35 dogs for a walk at the same time? With the help of technology, of course. Give the dog a drone.
For otherwise forgotten about dogs in West Yorkshire, this so-called luxury dog rescue centre screams, "Welcome to paradise." There's 22 kennel spaces in this so-called luxury dog rescue centre towards Wakefield, and 35 permanent residents means there's 140 legs waiting for a walk-in. And this centre doesn't do things by half. There's classical music piped through to all of its tenants, who don't stay in kennels but live in apartments. All that said, getting around to keeping even the loudest of these residents happy and well exercised can be a challenge. Or at least it was. Enter the Phantom 3 Pro, or as it's affectionately known, the Dog Walker. Capable of 1,600 feet with safety off and a descent of 5 metres per second, it's an impressive machine, but also an obsession for many of the dogs at the Whitehall Rescue Centre. With safety checks made, the drone can take flight in a cordoned-off area. It's hooked up to 2 satellites, so if it gets lost, a simple press of a button means it can find its way home with ease. Capable of landing within a few centimetres of where it took off from. It changes the job of staff here quite significantly too, from walker to pilot. Sound barking mad? It's about to be. Of course, it's not every dog's cup of tea, and the slightest sniff of rain, and it's back to normal walking. But to those that get into it, it certainly tires them out.
And that concludes our roundup of the best of local. If you've enjoyed our digital digest, then don't forget there's more to see on each of the local TV channels' websites. Or why not catch up on previous episodes of the show by visiting bbc.co.uk/Digital Nation. Until next week, goodbye.